Imagine driving your car with the gas light on, ignoring every warning and pushing it to the limit. Eventually, the engine gives out, and that's burnout. The real problem? Unlike a car, you can't just replace your engine, you only get one. To keep going, you need to refuel regularly. And the goal isn't to run yourself into the ground, it's to burn bright, not out. Hello, my name is Mithran Vijayanand.
And I'm Audia Sony.
This is our Hosa Emotional Well-Being Challenge, Burnout.
Now for some background. Burnout is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as a physical or mental collapse due to severe, prolonged stress or overworking. Today, we're going to cover the two main types, occupational and academic, their similarities, differences, as well as our proposed solutions and preventative methods.
To understand the levels of burnout in our peers and community, we sent out a survey. After our workshops and presentation, we had those individuals again fill out the survey and compared the two data sets. Feel free to scan it yourself to start your own journey in beating burnout.
So why did we choose burnout? Well, burnout has become an increasingly prevalent issue as focus has shifted more to mental health and wellness in the workplace. Cases have been on the rise, especially in more stressful occupations where its impact is more severe. This is especially evident in the medical field where burnout not only affects an individual professional's health, but also the quality of patient care. Addressing this issue requires raising awareness and developing practical solutions to be implemented in this ever busier world. We also chose this because we personally have experiences with burnout. As mentioned previously, I'm Audia Sony, and I've experienced burnout throughout my last 2 years of high school. And I want to learn how to prevent it in order to help my own mental and physical health. As a future medical health professional with a high workload and long education path, learning how to effectively prevent and stop burnout will not only help me, but also my patients in staying motivated and well. I believe this presentation will improve my leadership and communication skills and also help me understand the topic of mental health in general.
As an aspiring medical professional, I see how daunting and intense the workload is for both medical students and professionals. So, understanding how to recognize potential burnout within myself will not only make me a better person, but also a more productive student and health professional. In addition, learning about burnout will help me better engage with my peers and understand what they might be going through in times of stress, leading to better cooperation and a betterment of the work environment. Our mission is to destigmatize burnout and open up honest conversations, raise awareness, and break down myths and barriers to getting support. We want to normalize acknowledging burnout and strive to popularize healthy, manageable, and sustainable practices, empowering individuals to care for their own well being and thrive in their work without sacrificing themselves.
So, who does burnout affect? Well, burnout can affect just about anyone, but there are a few demographics that it affects at higher rates: students, healthcare professionals, and general workers. Age wise, it affects teens and younger adults more often, and specific jobs that correlate to higher rates of burnout are those in healthcare, transportation, manufacturing, and consumer goods. So, why is burnout a relevant issue? Well, it's relevant to students because many of them face excessive burnout due to academic pressure and mental and physical strain. This leads them to be isolated socially, and the burnout negatively impacts their performance and their well being. The presentation will help students because it aims to teach them different, healthy ways to deal with their stress and ultimately prevent or reverse the effects of burnout. It will also help to normalize addressing mental health issues for teens. This presentation is beneficial to workers, especially those in healthcare, because burnout causes emotional exhaustion, reduced empathy, and decreased job performance. It can also increase the risk of mental health issues, all of which can compromise the patient care and the caregiver's own mental health. This presentation will help them by providing practical strategies for managing stress and promoting self care, ultimately improving their well being and enhancing the quality of patient care. Although our presentation is targeted towards these demographics, the presentation is relevant to everyone, as at the end of the day, anyone can get burnt out and have to deal with the consequences.
As previously mentioned, burnout is typically found in two groups: members of the workforce and academics. As such, there are two classifications of burnout: occupational and academic, relating to each group respectively. In our effort to educate as much as possible about burnout, we will be covering both. However, both can manifest differently and do affect different demographics, hence the different categorization. Occupational burnout is burnout caused by prolonged work related stress, characterized by feeling overwhelmed, underappreciated, and disconnected from one's work, often leading to decreased job performance, affecting around 1 in 4 employees. Symptoms include physical and emotional fatigue, mental distancing and cognitive impairment, anxiety, and depression. One of the main prevention methods is to recognize stress early and practice self care and maintain a healthy work life balance.
According to the 2021 American Psychological Association Work and Wellbeing Survey of 1,501 US adult workers, 79% of employees had experienced work related stress in the month before the survey. For some more stats from the APA, nearly 3 in 5 employees reported negative impacts of work related stress, including lack of interest, motivation, or energy at 26%, and lack of effort at work at 19%. Additionally, 36% reported cognitive weariness, 32% reported emotional exhaustion, and 44% reported physical fatigue.
Fields most at risk include healthcare, education, and social services. Physician suicide rates have been skyrocketing over the last few years, 40% higher for males and 130% higher for women, a hallmark of stress and burnout. Over 60% of education workers, specifically teachers, report feelings of being burnt out, with over half leaving the profession earlier, again affecting female teachers more than male. Lastly, over 50% of social service workers reported being burnt out, often being in dangerous and stressful situations day to day.
Occupational burnout can often manifest in a few key signs, the recognizing of which is vital to preventing it before it takes over. Physical issues can range from frequent headaches, muscle pain, to gastrointestinal issues from stress. Burnt out workers often find themselves physically and mentally tired no matter how much they sleep, and they end up losing interest in their job because of that. Despite that, many still put their work above their personal needs.
There are two main ways to measuring occupational burnout: the Maslach Burnout Inventory and the Burnout Assessment Tool. The MBI has three aspects to it: exhaustion, cynicism, and reduced efficiency, while the Burnout Assessment Tool looks at exhaustion, mental distance, and emotional and cognitive impairment. The MBI defines exhaustion as a feeling of an extreme depletion of energy. Oftentimes, burnout individuals will wake up tired no matter how much they've slept. Cynicism can be seen in people as an increased mental distance from their work and feelings of negativity and pessimism. Lastly, reduced efficiency, as the name suggests, is an overall decrease in performance in an individual's job, often seen in their evaluation. The BAT describes exhaustion, as previously mentioned, the extreme fatigue that burnt out individuals feel. Mental withdrawal is akin to cynicism, and burnt out individuals often have a decreased capacity to regulate their cognitive and emotional processes, leading to decreased job performance and emotional outbursts.
There are a few key things you can do to minimize occupational burnout. First and foremost is setting workplace boundaries. This means leave work at work and keep your professional life out of your free time. Sick days and vacation days are there for you to use whenever you feel unwell or may need a break. Make sure that you use these liberally. Lastly, try to find hobbies to keep yourself feeling positive and stress free outside of work. In the long term, burnout can lead to larger effects on one's health and work. Workers often put their career at risk, exhibiting absenteeism and reduced productivity. A Gallup estimate states that low employee engagement, a key hallmark of burnout, has costed the global economy a little under $9 trillion.
Now for academic burnout. Academic burnout is burnout caused by prolonged stress from factors such as high academic expectations, excessive workload, lack of balance, and feelings of disengagement or inadequacy in one's academic performance. It is often characterized by chronic fatigue, decreased academic performance and motivation, increased anxiety, stress, lack of concentration, headaches, and much more, affecting around 30 to 40% of students. In short, the best ways to prevent it are good time management, self care, realistic goals, socialization, and sleeping 7 to 9 hours.
Like occupational burnout, recognizing signs are vital to avoiding the effects of academic burnout. Symptoms may manifest in feelings of anxiety and or depression, and burnout can cause a loss of confidence in academic abilities and reduce motivation to perform, as well as increased pain and tension in your body, which can lead to headaches, sore muscle aches, or jaw tension. This can also lead to higher chances of catching illnesses or adopting unhealthy habits like overeating and not sleeping on time, all of which can actually increase the severity of burnout symptoms.
A good tool for academic burnout is the Maslach Burnout Inventory for Students, or the MBI-S. It measures burnout based on emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and personal accomplishment. It's usually in the form of a survey in which students write how often they experience specific feelings, with higher emotional exhaustion and depersonalization scores coupled with low personal accomplishment scores indicating burnout.
50% of academics are depressed and 30% are experiencing daily burnout symptoms, as stated by the National Institute of Health. Now for some more statistics checked by Dr. Elka Jacobs Pinson, a highly experienced psychotherapist. Over 55% of college students experience some degree of academic burnout, with 20.5 reporting severe symptoms, and 40% of students experiencing severe burnout reported a significant drop in their grades.
There are three main demographics of students that are affected by burnout. Female students generally report 15% higher levels of burnout and stress compared to the rest of their peers. Another demographic is students with poor sleep quality being among the most affected. They are 40% more likely to experience symptoms. Lastly, students in particularly demanding fields such as medicine, engineering, and law, being 72, 68, and 65%, are more likely to experience burnout. However, this is not meant to downplay the risk of developing burnout for students who don't fall into these demographics, as this is still a prevalent issue amongst
Some effects of academic burnout are reduced academic performance, absenteeism, which means withdrawal from school and schoolwork, social isolation, and an increased risk of dropping out. All of these can put your grades and your future at risk. There are a few ways to help decrease the potential of developing academic burnout. First, time management. Break down your assignments and tasks to complete them most efficiently. Number two, have realistic goals. Putting too much of a burden on yourself by setting achievable objectives. Number three, take breaks, but avoid procrastination. Keep your mind refreshed, but make sure to avoid last-minute stress that comes from procrastinating. And lastly, communicate with your teachers or counselors. If work gets overwhelming, the first people to talk to about workload are teachers who can help clarify or help with work.
In times when an individual suffering from burnout tries to reach out, they are met with misconceptions such as burnout means you're weak or lazy, or only happens to people who hate their job, and worst of all, working harder will fix it. In reality, burnout is a stress response, a sign that your system is overloaded. Even passionate, high performing people can burn out, and working harder often makes burnout worse.
Now for our solution. We devised a 5-step plan. First, we have a pre-evaluation form to fill out that we showed at the beginning of the presentation. Then, we have a 3-week plan of tasks to minimize burnout, and 2 special events known as Seek Support Day and a Stress Workshop that can be organized with your school or workplace to help spread awareness and give support to those in need. At the end, there's another evaluation form to fill out to determine how effective our presentation was. Research says that to make something a habit, you must do it for 18 to 254 days. To start you off, we propose the 3-week burnout bye-bye. 5 tasks to do every day for the next 21 days, which, as the name suggests, would minimize burnout and get you right back on track. For the first task, make a checklist for all the important things you must do in a day and set a time limit for how long you plan to spend on each. It's important not to go over the limit. Pace yourself and take breaks in between each task. Task 2. Make sure you manage your time and prioritize at least 8 hours of sleep per day. Task 3. Say 3 affirmations to yourself. These can include examples like I am powerful, I am smart, and I am capable. Task 4. Now you can reflect by writing a journal entry on your feelings, including how the day went, what went well, what to improve, and any stressors or plans to deal with them. Finally, step 5, go out and have fun. Hang out with your friends, read a book, go for a drive, or get some food. This is your time to unwind and relax. For our first special event, we implemented a Seek Support Day. We worked with teachers and a large group of students to make a board where everyone could post sticky notes of advice that would help them be less stressed throughout the year. One of our most proposed solutions was more group work. So we worked with our chemistry teacher to implement group quizzes for the next semester. We advise you to work with your teacher or colleagues to make a similar day where everyone can learn new ways to be less stressed and implement them.
Next, we organized a stress workshop. Have a day with a group of students or members of the workforce to share what methods they use for coping with burnout. The overall goal is to instill good and long lasting habits that the participants will be able to implement into their lives to better themselves when dealing with burnout. Our stress workshop was quite a success. We had quite a few students come in and share their most useful techniques for dealing with stress. Over time, the workshop evolved to not just sharing ways of relieving stress, but also study methods and how they planned on dealing with stressful events like tests and projects. After our presentations and workshops, we gave our participants an after form to fill out. You can also fill this form out to see how your responses may have changed. Before we applied any of our workshops and our presentation, our participants reported common feelings of stress, anxiety, and a lack of motivation. However, after our stress workshops and exercises, stress and anxiety were prevalent, although none of the above had a lot more responses, indicating a decrease of negative emotions. Before, common methods for avoiding burnout were evenly distributed. However, there were a lot of responses for taking naps and going for walks. However, journaling and practicing self care, healthy coping mechanisms, became the highest responses, with naps becoming amongst the least, signifying a decrease in fatigue and a decrease in avoidance. In the before survey, stress levels were rated and centered around 7 out of 10. After, the average rating for stress fell down nearly 3 points to be centered around 4. Before, stress management prevention was also evenly distributed with an emphasis on taking breaks. After everything, however, stress prevention methods remained similar, although taking breaks went down 10%, so a decrease in more avoidant and fatigue related prevention methods, and staying organized and setting realistic goals, which are more positive, healthy prevention methods, went up by 4 and 9% respectively. We ran a statistical significance test, the chi-square goodness of fit. Looking at all the p-values and probabilities, we can see that the probabilities of getting these changes in results based off of pure chance is less than 5%. This shows that the changes were likely due to our presentation and work.
Overall, the making of this presentation had an extremely positive impact on the two of us and our school, and we hope it had one on you as well. Thank you for listening. And remember, burnout isn't a sign that you need to work harder, it's a sign that you need to recover smarter.